Hello, welcome to Lemonade Yoga. I'm Sandy Till. Today's class will be focusing on introducing lunges. We have done no lunges yet. So lunges are fantastic muscles and primarily working to stretch the thigh. And, consequently also your psoas and which helps to release your low back. So we'll start off with a modified warm-up and then we'll move right into that. Let's begin by getting comfortable. So if you want to lean up against a wall or lie on your back even, for our awareness to breath. Go ahead and get yourself comfortable. Maybe close your eyes. Maybe bring your vision down towards the ground so that you're not looking around you. I'm going to choose to prop myself up on my hands with my fingertips. Let's take 5 breaths here. 5 breaths. Now, if you're pretty calm already and your body's feeling like you could play with your breath a little, then I invite you to lengthen your inhales and your exhales. Taking your breath in for as long as is comfortable for you. And then at the end of that, feeling for, do you have any more room for a little extra inhale? On exhale, smooth as silk, bringing your breath out through your nose. And then towards the end of your exhale, feel for stretching that just a little bit to get a little more empty, getting all the air out of your lungs as best you can. As you settle into your yoga practice, we like to focus on the breath at the beginning because moving with your breath is where you get the most benefit, I think, from your yoga practice. Also, it gives you a chance to just sort of settle down, separate from the day or from whatever you were doing before and giving yourself some personal attention. Now, I'd like to remind you all to absolutely stay out of a pain response in your yoga practice. As we move through the postures, also known as asanas in our yoga, then it's important that you're not in a pain response or in a struggle. So feeling for, can you do this work or do as much of it as I'm showing you as you can, without coming into a pain response. Let's move now into a seated side bend. And I'm going to choose to have one leg straight and the other leg bent. So I've got left leg straight, right knee bent. I invite you to choose and play a little bit with how your legs are situated. Always feeling for your comfort zone. Or if you're not a person that's tweaky or in pain, something that's interesting for you. So, what I'm doing here by grabbing my foot and bringing the knee way out to the side, that creates a bigger stretch in this thigh and leg. So if that's interesting or something your body can easily do, then go after that. If you're someone who's stiff and has a little less flexibility, then you might come in to a more comfortable shape for your practice. So from here, my left hand's going to come out, for me today, right out from the side of my hip. Onto my fingertips. Inhale the outside arm up. That's my right arm, inhaling up. And exhaling, bending the bottom elbow and arcing the spine over to the side. Now from here, I'm going to roll the top shoulder forward and stretch out through active hands and active feet, feeling for bringing the entire body into this posture. Holding each side for 4 to 5 breaths. Let your neck be neutral. You can look up at the ceiling if you like that. You can keep your head held up at a neutral place like I'm doing, and you can also let your head hang to the side. If that gives you a pain response or doesn't feel good, then by all means change it. Use your inhale to bring your top arm up and down. Keep breathing as you transition to your second side and feeling for what this side wants to do. Feels great for you. And then walking for me, my right hand now out onto the fingertips. Inhale, floating the left arm up. Lifting the rib cage up off the waist as I go, and exhaling the bottom elbow bends and slides. Not the elbow sliding down, but the shoulder itself can slide down the back, allowing the neck space to kind of ease over without pinching or crunching up there. Active hands, active feet. I love doing that in my practice. I think that it's so easy to be disassociated in different parts of your body, and by engaging active hands and active feet, you habitually just come right back into your physical body. Finding your comfortable neck shape. Usually takes like 1 or 2 breaths to get into the pose in a way that feels good for yourself, and then staying there for a few breaths to let the pose do something. This one, the seated side bend like this, is going to warm up my top shoulder and stretch my waist. It's also going to flex my spine bones over to the side. And there's a little bit of a hamstring stretch here, a little bit of a thigh stretch. Well, that will just depend on what your body feels like every day. And then inhaling your way up out of that. Exhale, ease the arm down. Take a moment to notice what you've done. And today we're moving right into abdominals. So easy abs and then abs with a block. So have your rolled up towel or your foam block or rolled up mat nearby. And lying on our backs here, we'll go for 6 rounds of each. I'm just going to do the low levels today. But if you remember the harder versions, you're welcome to integrate them here. Elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades are down the back. Low back is gently pressing into the floor. And by low back, I mean more specifically your low ribs and the pelvic crest, the top edge of the bony part of your body here. All right. We'll start with that, and then layering the breath. Inhale, and exhale to the left. Inhale, back to center. Try to keep that low back and the low ribs and the pelvic crest down. Exhale to the right. And then just keep going. Inhale, full inhale. Complete exhale. Big inhale. Complete exhale. Huge breath in. Exhale to the right. Inhale back. And over. Last one to the right. That should be 6 rounds about. And then resting your head and taking a moment to feel the energy that you generate with that. This one's a little bit harder, so it got my heart rate up, and I can feel warmer in my body, which is nice. It feels good. It's kind of cold out today. So I'll take the foam block and place it between my legs. And I invite you to bring it just as close to your body as you're comfortable with. You can bring it all the way up to your pubic bone if you like that. When you have a block or something firm like this, if it doesn't feel good for you, put it somewhere that it feels good. And if you're particularly tender in this region, then I invite you to use a softer object, like a rolled up towel or a blanket or a rolled up mat. So from here, we're just going to be squeezing our legs onto the block as we curl our head up. Okay, it looks like this. Hands clasped again behind the skull and elbows pointing up towards the ceiling. Low ribs and pelvic crest gently pressing into the floor. Big inhale.
Exhale, curl the head and shoulders up and squeeze the legs through exhale. Inhale, release the head and release, it will be like a release in the pelvis and a release of the squeeze. And again, we'll go 6 times. If this is very easy for you, you can leave the shoulders up on exhale, on inhale. So it would look like this. Exhale, curl up. And then instead of laying the head down, you just inhale and release the squeeze. And exhale, squeeze and curl again. That will work a little bit more your upper abdominals, which might be nice. Fantastic. So abs with a block. Down level. This is the easiest level. I mean, you could do it without the head and just squeezing the legs. And you could also not squeeze the legs and just curl the head up. So you could play with how hard that got. A little bit more than that. So next is bridge pose. And we'll do bridge to warm up the legs. We're going to work on stretching the front of the thighs. So before we do that, we want to get some heat in there and get some synovial fluid in there. So we'll start with our basic bridge. Heels come up toward your fingertips. Where are they at? And then palms face skyward. I'm going to have my block nearby in case I need it from my back. Inhale into the belly. On exhale, lengthen the tailbone down and bring the hips off the floor. On inhale, open up your chest by expanding the ribs upwards toward your face and also outwards away from you. So getting a big puffy sort of chest. And exhale, press through the legs. And you just keep stacking these moves. If you can really coordinate your breath with your movement here, you will have the intelligence of your breath with your movement. And you'll just feel more. You'll feel more of when your body's good with what you're doing, and you'll feel more of when it's not. And very likely you'll start to feel all sorts of stuff. You know, whatever's in your cell tissue, whatever experiences you've gone through in your life, sometimes these things pop up when you're working in your cell tissue, your physical body. And that's okay. For a lot of us, that's what we're going after with our practice. Sort of a clearing. Now, if your back is starting to get sore at all here, then get your block and place it under your low back and have some support. And I don't really love for you to just flop here and just like this, let everything go. I really do want you to work as much as you can through your legs without a pain response. So having a little support is great. And if you need to flop, it's okay. But I invite you to go after building some heat here. We want to build heat in the legs. I like to remind people in bridge pose to take the weight out of your neck. If you're feeling pressure in your neck, then you need to reach the knees away from you. You'll hunker down through the heels and reach your knees that way. It looks like this. And you see the body takes the weight into the legs and off of the neck. Okay, we'll go ahead and come out of bridge now. Take the block out of there. And then curl down, nice, easy. Upper back, pulling a little bit with the legs as you go. Low back, or wait, mid back first, and then low back, and then the pelvis. Give yourself a moment to feel what you've done. Make sure you're good. See what moved what part of that you liked, if there's anything you didn't like, just paying good attention. Okay?
So that's our little warm-up. And what we'll do now is move into the lunges. So introducing lunges it's a lot. Okay, I'm just going to say that. It seems like there's a lot going on. So I'm going to start by facing you. And if you're new to lunges or bearing weight on your knees, then I strongly recommend having a few blocks. And I'm going to have, or it doesn't even need to be a block. You just need something to kind of hold on to until you find your balance. So I'm going to have a block on either side of me, just so you can kind of see what that looks like. And a lot of times in yoga, we'll come into a lunge from downward facing dog. Today we're not doing that, but you'll see that in future classes. So I'll start with my left foot forward. And our alignment here is going to be, it's always important. The front knee should be on top of the ankle here, like this. You don't want to start with your knee over the foot because that's just not great for the knee. We will move in that direction, but you really just start here. And then for the back leg, I'd like to have your knee about as wide as your hip bone, not your hip flesh, but your hip bone. So judging that. And then the other thing that is super important in lunge is that you are bearing down through the back bearing down through the back shin. So when you press your back shin bone and top of your foot gently into the floor, you're going to feel a lot of energy wake up in this front thigh. And that's great. That's what we're going after. You will also want to be, not on your kneecap. So if you're laying too far forward and you're pushing on your kneecap, that could hurt and not feel great for you. So I invite you to bring your weight to under your kneecap. So that would be this part of your knee should be what's in contact with the floor. Okay. So for basic lunge, we typically, I'm going to hold on to one side. We typically would bring the arms up on inhale. Relax the shoulders. I've got active hands and active feet. Now this is just a square lunge. I'm not doing anything here. A lot of practices will have you lunge forward from here. So I would do that with an exhale. So it would be a breath in. And then on exhale, press that back leg down as you sink your hips forward. So you don't lose connection through your back leg. If you don't do that, you'll probably fall over because you won't be strong enough. Now, if you're just needing a little hand support, then you can have your block next to you while you figure out your legs. Now, I've been doing yoga for a long time, maybe at least 15 years. So my body can do this shape, even though I haven't been practicing every single day for the last few years. I still know the shape. When I first did this practice, it was very hard for me to do this shape. So if it's difficult for you, don't be deterred. Just down level and support yourself. Okay? So then we'll switch sides, and I'll bring the other foot up for lunge on the other side. So you get to where you learn your step up. So you'll bring your foot up, and then you'll take the time to get your foot right under the knee. Okay? Now from here, you'll press that back leg down. Inhale, lift the ribs off the waist. And exhale, send the hips forward. Your body will typically stop you when it wants to, like when it's like, that's enough for me. Now, if this is super easy for you, you could bring your arms up, and you could even arc into a little bit of a back bend. So if this is an easy practice for you and you're a more advanced student, by all means, do your pose. But if you're just starting out here, know that this is difficult. Know that this is pretty challenging, but it's the great way, and we'll do a lot of lunges, to get into that front thigh, which helps release your low back, helps open up your core and your stomach because your psoas muscle comes right through your belly button and into your inner thigh. So it's a good area to stretch. Okay, now I'm going to back up. And I'm going to turn to the side to show you lunge with the back knee up. Now, sometimes we do sequences and you'll need to modify. And so If being on your knee like this down low is too hard for you, then you could always do these from Warrior One shape. So from here, I'm going to start again with that knee over the ankle and my back leg pretty squared up. Now the goal here, I'm going to start with my toes curled under. You can do this with your toes flat, but it's very intense, okay? So with support, my hands are on the blocks. I'll take an inhale, and on exhale, lift the back knee up, and then lunge the hips forward. The goal here is to reach the back of the knee towards the ceiling, and that feels great. Like that's a nice stretch. If it feels tweaky in your knee, then just give it some space, like bend the knee a little bit and just practice being here. After about, revisiting this, you'll do better at it. Okay, now, maybe you can stand with your hands on your legs. Maybe you can stand with your arms reaching up. Ooh. And this is just, this is where we get strong in yoga, because we start to do some practice that's pretty difficult. Okay, back knee up. And then second side, I'm just gonna flip my legs. And so sometimes you won't come from the bottom up, right? And if you look at my toe, there's different ways, and people have different opinions about this, but like from this position, my ankle, my heel is right over the ball of my foot. That might be important to you. You can also bring the heel back. It's not a deal breaker either way, okay? So block or hands on the floor is totally acceptable. Lunge. It's hard, I'm all panting. Now if you go up to the knee, ooh, pushing on that front leg for support because it's hard. Okay. Some practices and teachers will call this, I think, high lunge. In my system that I studied with, this is lunge with the back knee up. For some people, it's much lower, like this, which is hard. Okay. All right. So very good. Very, very good. Those are a few ways to do lunges. There's lots of variations of lunges, and I'll explore them with you. But I wanted to bring you an introduction into lunges. Okay? So from here, we'll unwind and sort of calm the nervous system down a little bit with a forward fold. So go ahead and just take a minute and feel for all of the energy that you generated there. Whew. It was all hard. Okay, so maybe we'll do, since we have a little tiny bit of time, we'll do forward fold over each leg, okay? So you could do, straight. I'm going to choose to have my legs a little wider and just turning my body towards my left leg. I'll inhale and bring the arms up. And exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Once the body stops you, I'll bring your arms down and continue to look forward if that feels good in your neck. If it feels good for you to hang your neck, then by all means roll your head forward. If your body is needing to breathe like mine is, then take your big breaths. I don't have to come all the way down into my forward fold to get the down regulating effect of a forward fold. And that's the goal for this moment. Just stretching the back of the legs. And then coming on up. And taking a moment, feel what you've done. Notice the difference there between the left and right side. And then I'll turn my body towards this leg. Inhale, arms reaching on up. And exhaling forward. Just letting your body take you to where it's comfortable. And then exhaling, maybe letting the chin and the head roll forward. If that feels strenuous at all in your neck, or you just don't want to do that, then you could look up. I like to do forward folds in just a very gentle way. I like to just let the weight of my body or the gravity
do the releasing, but by all means, you can grab with a strap, or you can grab your leg and pull if that feels good for you. If you're a hamstring sensitive or a sciatica sensitive person and forward folds feel dicey to you, then you could bring the heel back towards your calf and kind of draw in through the sit bones. Coming on up out of that, let's go ahead and do just my heart rate is still a little high for Shavasana, so let's take a seated meditation. And if you can lay down and stay longer than 3 minutes, then do that. But if you're near something that you can kind of rest on, then go ahead and get there. And just allow yourself to down-regulate. Maybe closing your eyes and feeling the pulse of your heartbeat. You might feel energized. If you're using Ujjayi, go ahead and let that go now. Taking the next 2 minutes to integrate. And coming out of resting or settling time by deepening your breath, moving your hands and fingers a little bit. And then just coming on up to say thank you for our practice today.